Welcome to the Practical World Podcast, your gateway to work insights and captivating stories from Thailand and beyond. This is the real world. This is the Practical World Podcast.
Okay, so imagine like having this superpower, the ability to really get what's going on in someone's head, even when they're not saying it out loud.
Uh-huh.
And this isn't like some sci-fi movie. It's about reading people.
Uh-huh.
And that's what we're diving deep into today, how to, develop this amazing skill.
Yeah, we've got a ton of cool stuff from experts, people who do this all the time, all focused on how to decode those little nonverbal hints. It's all about understanding people better, how they tick.
And this deep dive is for you listening right now.
Yeah.
Because this isn't just some random knowledge. It's about how you connect with people in your relationships, at work, everywhere, and how to be more socially savvy, without getting lost in all that crazy psychology stuff. We're giving you the good stuff, the usable stuff.
Right, exactly. We've gone through expert opinions, studies on how people behave, practical guides, the whole works. Think of it as a cheat sheet to becoming more perceptive, like really seeing what's going on around you.
Perfect. So let's jump right in. Reading people, it can be a bit, overwhelming at first. Where do we even start?
It sounds simple, but the first step, and this comes up over and over, is to really pay attention. It's crazy how much we miss just because we're not focused. We're thinking about our own stuff, what we're going to say next, and boom, important cues fly right past us.
Yeah, makes sense.
One expert put it perfectly. They said, the secret to being able to read people is just paying attention. Not just listening to people when they talk, but actually looking at them and their body language.
So simple, yet so true. It's like we have to intentionally shift our focus outward. But it's not about becoming some sort of human lie detector, right?
Right. It's deeper than that. It's not just about catching someone in a lie. It's about understanding.
Okay, I like that.
A big theme that we saw in the research was the importance of empathy. Someone even said, I think it's less about being tuned into cues and body language and more about a general sense of empathy.
Interesting.
And it makes sense if you really connect with someone emotionally, you just get a better feel for what they're really saying, even when they're not saying it. It adds a whole new dimension to those little signals.
So it's not just cold observation. There's an emotional element too. Okay, so we're actively observing. What should we be looking at? I mean, the face is pretty expressive.
Okay, this is a gold mine. One really cool thing is something called emotional leakage.
Emotional leakage. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it's basically those little expressions, super quick and unconscious, that pop up when someone thinks no one's really watching. And there's a great tip, they said, watch people's faces in a group when they're focused on someone else. Watch for expressions that stop when they think you're not watching.
Oh, I get it. Like catching them off guard before they put their game face on. Cool.
Exactly. And then there are microexpressions. Have you heard of those?
Microexpressions. I feel like I've heard that term.
Yeah, they're like super fast facial expressions that show real emotions, the ones people might be trying to hide.
Ah, fascinating.
So like a tiny lip tightening, even if someone's speaking calmly, could actually mean they're suppressing anger. And one expert said, part of being good at reading people is visual acuity, so you don't miss anything. Like sometimes you can see someone deeply snarl when they're talking about someone, or a brief smile crosses their face. It's very important data to take in. So yeah, you got to be sharp to catch these.
Okay, so we've got sustained expressions and then these lightning fast micro expressions, lots to look for. But body language goes way beyond the face, right?
Oh, absolutely. We read a lot about body positioning or proxemics, basically how people use personal space, leaning in, open posture. That usually means they're engaged, connected. But if you see crossed arms, someone taking a step back or turning away, that could be discomfort, disagreement, or just lack of interest.
Makes sense. Those seem pretty intuitive. But I was really interested in what one source said about feet. They can be pretty revealing, huh?
Oh, yeah, feet are interesting. The thing is, we don't really control our foot movements as much as other body parts, so they can be super honest, giving away how we really feel.
I like that.
There is this great line, keep an eye on their feet. The feet reveal a lot about a person's emotional state. For instance, if you are interacting with someone and you notice they orient their feet towards the exit, it might be an indication that they are ready to leave. Subtle, but tells you a lot.
Wow, we watch people's feet now. What about hands? Do they give us clues too?
For sure. Open palms usually mean honesty, being open, but clenched fists, tension, maybe getting defensive. And hiding their hands could mean they're uncomfortable, or maybe they feel like they're hiding something. The key is to look at everything together, not just one thing on its own.
Right. Patterns. So we've talked a lot about visual cues, but communication isn't just what we see, right? Our voice plays a huge role too.
Huge. It's not just the words, it's how we say them. Pay attention to tone and rhythm, changes in pitch, how loud or soft they're speaking, how fast, even pauses. All that can show excitement, nervousness, maybe even deception or confidence. And sometimes these vocal cues contradict what someone's actually saying, which can be a big clue that something else is going on.
Got it. So how they're saying it might not match the words. Okay, this has been super helpful. Knowing what to look and listen for. But how do we actually get better at reading these cues? Any tips we can practice?
There are some great techniques we came across. One is called the muted television exercise.
Muted television, huh?
Yeah. Here's what they said. Learn to listen with your eyes. One way to practice listening with your eyes is to watch an episode of your favorite television show on mute, and then try to make head and tail of the program by reading lips, watching facial expressions, body language, and all the other clues you can spot. It really makes you focus on the nonverbal stuff.
Sounds fun.
Anything else?
Active listening. You'd be surprised how important this is. One source was just like, just listen. People want to tell you about themselves. Everything else flows from there. Just giving someone your full attention, paying attention to their tone, how fast they talk, what they're feeling underneath the words, tells you so much.
So, like taking a step back and truly listening rather than actively trying to read them. Exactly. It's about absorbing everything they're communicating, the whole picture. Another great technique is figuring out someone's baseline behavior. One source said, if you know the person, you just need to apply how they normally talk to what they are doing now. If you know how someone usually acts, you can spot when they're acting differently, which usually means something's up.
Makes sense. Like if someone who's usually super outgoing suddenly becomes really quiet, that's a sign something's different.
Exactly. And one of the biggest red flags is when someone's words don't match their nonverbal cues.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Like if they're saying, I'm fine, but their body language is screaming the opposite, experts call this looking for discrepancies in communication.
Got it. Words versus actions. So here's something I've always wondered about. We all come from different cultures, have different personalities. How does that affect how we read people?
Super important question. We have to be aware of cultural differences because nonverbal cues can mean totally different things in different cultures.
Right. Of course.
You know, one source said, body language is much more easier to understand than language, but you have to have the heart to understand the culture first. Something that's friendly in one culture could be rude in another.
Wow. Yeah, totally. So there's no one size fits all approach.
Nope. And we also have to avoid what's called decontextualized interpretation. That's when we jump to conclusions based on just one little thing without looking at the bigger picture, like someone avoiding eye contact. They might be lying, but they could also be showing respect or feeling anxious, or maybe they have a different communication style because of, neurodiversity.
Okay. So context is everything. Don't judge too quickly.
Exactly. And we can't forget about personality. One expert said, many of these are learned behaviors, not innate, and they are circumstantial. What makes one person uncomfortable might be totally normal for someone else.
So reading people, it's really nuanced, huh? It's not just about memorizing a bunch of signals. Now, beyond our everyday interactions, are there areas where being good at reading people can be especially helpful?
Definitely. The research talked a lot about professional settings. Being able to read nonverbal cues can make you a much better leader because you can pick up on unspoken concerns in your team. It's also huge in negotiations. You can get a sense of what the other side really wants, where the sticking points are. In relationships, being tuned into nonverbal signals can help you see what your loved ones need, even if they haven't said anything. And even when you're public speaking, reading the audience's reactions can help you adjust and really connect with them.
Wow. So it's a skill that's useful in almost every area of life. And I know there are some frameworks for understanding behavior, right?
Yeah, there's the big 5 personality traits. Have you heard of that?
I think so.
It's sometimes called OCEAN: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism.
Oh, okay.
It's basically a way to understand different personality types and how they tend to act. Really helpful for interpreting those nonverbal cues. There's also this guy, Albert Mehrabian, who studied communication, and his research showed that when we're talking about feelings and attitudes, body language and tone of voice make up a much bigger part of the message than the actual words. It's wild.
Yeah.
And if you want to go deeper, there are resources like the Microexpressions Training Tool, METT, and tons of body language courses out there.
So yeah, tons of resources for people who want to take a deep dive into this. Okay, let's sum things up for our listener. What are the key takeaways from all this reading people stuff?
The big things are pay attention, like really pay attention, develop empathy, put yourself in other people's shoes, learn to recognize those facial expressions, even the super fast ones, and understand body language. Be an active listener. Listen to the whole message, not just the words. Remember that context and culture matter. And approach all this with the goal of understanding and connecting, not judging.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's observation, emotional intelligence, and appreciating how complex people are. And the payoff is huge,
Right.
right? Deeper understanding, better connections in every part of life.
Absolutely. It's like unlocking this hidden level of communication.
I love that. So as you go about your day to day, think about your conversations and ask yourself, what nonverbal cues did I maybe miss? And how might noticing those things change how I understand those interactions going forward? This is just the beginning of exploring that amazing world of unspoken communication and the power it has to connect us.
Uh-huh.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you.
Thank you for joining. This is the Practical World Podcast.